God bless you. Welcome to another episode of I Am Tired of Church. Today I want to talk about the parable of the sower. Okay, I'm going to have a different take on that parable, and many of you probably have never heard it this way. Okay, and the parable is found in Matthew chapter 13. Okay, and then he begins in verse 1 basically. Okay, I'm going to go through it quick. I'm going to kind of push through it. That way I'm not here reading to you when you can read for yourself. And he says, he spoke many things in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seeds fell by the road, and the birds came up and ate them. Some fell by rocky places. They didn't have much soil. And when they came up, they didn't have the soil, so they died. And when the sun was risen, it was scorched, and they had no root, and they withered away. Others fell by the thorns, and the thorns came up and choked them out. And others fell on good soil and yielded a crop. Some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Okay? And that was a parable Jesus spoke. Of course, it wasn't a literal story. So there are many things we can get out of that parable. Okay? And then we see later on when Jesus explains the parable to them, a few verses later, when he tells them what it means. The worries of the world, the cares of life. They get choked out, they don't have the root to grow, they hear the story, a bird comes and takes the seed away, so on and so forth, okay? But Jesus said the reason why he spoke to them in parables, because while seeing, they do not see, and while hearing, they do not hear, nor do they understand, okay? He spoke to them in parables to make it confusing, okay? And my view on this this parable is on the sower. We seem to always focus every parable on us. You look at the sheep and the shepherds and the lost 100 sheep, the lost coin is always the coin, or the sheep is lost. We forget that the shepherd came and carried that sheep. We forget that the coin was found. We seem to always focus on the object versus the one who is making things happen in the parable. So my view on this parable is God is the one throwing the seeds. He is the sower who went out to sow. Some fell on rocky soil. Whose fault is that? God put it there. God knows what he's doing. The bird came and took the seed. Who's in charge of the birds? God is. We seem to, the seed, to show you, is nothing. It's just a seed. It has no will of its own. However, the influences around it dictate what that seed is going to do. If I go to Antarctica and I plant a mango seed in the ice, is it going to grow? And then if I was to ask you the question, hey, look at the seed I planted, why isn't that growing? Whose fault is that? Are you going to say, that stupid seed, that seed should move itself down to the Bahamas where it's warm? That dumb seed. No, you're going to look at me and say, you idiot, you don't plant seeds over there. You can't grow mango seeds in snow, in ice. God is the sower. He is the one who disperses these seeds. Did he know that that seed was going to grow up and get choked out? Yes, because it's going to have worries. God gives us a measure of faith. Okay? And if we go to chapter 12 of Romans, verse 3, okay, it says, God has allotted to each a measure of faith. And this is, the whole verse says, For through grace given to me, I say to everyone among you, do not think more highly of yourself than he ought to think, but to think so as to have sound judgment, as God has allowed each of us a measure of faith. Okay? Your faith is different than mine. We don't have to have all the same type of faith. Some of us are going to land on rocky soil. Some of us are going to land on rich, fertile soil. Does it mean that your whole life is going to be miserable? No. God is the sower. He has given you the faith you have. You have cares and worries of the world? Of course. If you learn to trust God, you know that he's in charge. These cares and worries are not of your own choosing. Yes, you made dumb choices. I've made dumb choices. And you deal with the consequences and you push on. But it's your perception of how you deal with these consequences where you let this affect your soul and your spirit and your relationship with God. Each of us is given a measure of faith. Don't use someone else's faith to condemn yourself. So for example, you don't smoke, okay? But you judge the Christian brother who is smoking a cigarette. And worse than that is the Christian brother who smokes, who judges himself. I hate, God hates me, God doesn't love me, I'm a smoker. No, you have a measure of faith. You need to understand your faith is not his faith. Certain issues in your life, you've planted, or were planted on rocky soil. Some other issues in your life were planted on fertile soil. Don't assume that same seed and every area of your life is going to be taken away by the bird. There are certain things in your life that, yes, the bird is going to come take it away because you had little faith in that. There are other things in your life where it's going to grow and multiply because you had that type of faith in that area. Okay? Each of us is given a measure of faith. God is the sower. The parable is about the sower. We seem to always forget that. When we look at the rich, the spoiled prodigal son, it says there was a certain man. It doesn't say there was two kids who went. No, the parable is about the man, God, the father. There was a sower. The parable is about the sower. It's like I write an autobiography about my kids. Is that possible? No, it's an autobiography. It's about me. Some things in your life are going to get choked out. But don't let that be your life and everything gets choked out. Some things in your life you have to say, you know what, I just can't give up smoking, or I drink sometimes. Fine. Deal with that at that level. Don't take someone else's faith and be like, I wish I was like him. You know what, brother? You look at other people wishing to be like them. They're looking at someone else wishing to be like them. God has given you your faith. For you. For you. Why? Because you're his child. You're not going to have a perfect life. What fun would that be? No, we're going to have issues. We have to run over those roadblocks. We have to understand that God has placed these things around us. The bird that comes, yes. The weeds that choke us out, God has placed that there in our lives. That is my take on that parable, brother. I hope that God has blessed you with this parable. I hope that you can come to a trust in God that he's in control. And don't ever forget that what Jesus Christ did was enough. And God bless you and continue to bless you.